It's time with JMU Hall of Famer Delvin Joyce.
Joyce breaks a tackle and goes in for a touchdown. Another spectacular run by Delvin Joyce.
Alongside one of the best signal callers in JMU history.
Vad Lee, he's got plenty of room across the 50 to the 40. He should make it all the way to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, James Madison University.
Together, the duo bring their unique perspective to the podcast, breaking down all the things they're seeing about JMU football. This is To the House. Now, here's Delvin Joyce with Vad Lee.
What's going on, JMU Nation? Welcome to this blowout edition of To the House. I am your host, Delvin Joyce, the People's Choice. I'm joined by future JMU Hall of Famer Vad Lee. What's happening, Vad?
What's good in the hood? I mean, things are good, bro. Things are good.
Things are so good, man. I mean, like, I could not have scripted a better result than what we got on Saturday in Harrisonburg. I was there. I was going crazy. Fortunately, this morning, Vad, my voice just came back. Like, literally in the fourth quarter, I'm trying to talk to the people around me, and I can't even talk because I have no voice. Yeah. And now, of course, I can talk. But I want to get into this game. I also want to talk CFP, and I also obviously want to do a preview on Washington State, which I believe is going to be a tougher game than many JMU fans anticipate. Hopefully the players are anticipating a pretty tough matchup.
Yeah.
But Vad, of course, we talked about it last week, right? This was the one that mattered.
Yeah.
And I think I said I did not want this team to go into this game and let this App State team play with us because it's not a good football team. It is a bad team right now. And I said, and I quote, I want to kick this team while they are down. And Vad, if we did anything, 58-10, kind of looked like we kicked the team while they were down. What was your perspective on the game?
Yeah, man, this was total domination. In fact, this game reminded me of like a video game. And I'm not talking about NCAA. You know, I'm talking about, in fact, this is what I'm talking about. All I can hear is this in the background. Call of Duty. Have you ever played Call of Duty before?
I have not, but I used to be a big Halo guy back in the day.
Yo, total domination. All I remember on Call of Duty, it was like, hey, total domination when you did well. Hey, it's just shots after shots. I mean, it's very interesting because at the start of the game, it almost felt like, oh boy, this is going to be one of those JMU and App State football rivalry type of game. Yeah. And it certainly didn't end that way. I mean, the second quarter around when they picked up that 3rd and long, it was like maybe 3rd and 20, 3rd and 17, something like that. And Alonzo threw it over the middle, 4th and 1, and then they ended up picking it up. That really changed the game because that's when things kind of opened up. That's when Wayne Knight, went to the sideline and they said he stepped out at the one I thought he was in. But man, that really that was a point of changing the game at that point.
Yeah, that was a big drive. I think you're getting two drives mixed up because all these drives kind of look the same. But I think the one where we picked up the 3rd and 24, which was ridiculous, right? He throws it to, I think it was Logan Kyle over the middle.
Yeah. And
then on 4th and 1, Alonzo keeps it and gets the first down. We got sacked the very next play, I think.
Okay.
And ended up taking a field goal there. But I think to your point, I do think that was kind of a turning point. I think what most people forget about when you think about football, like football is a chess match. And I know that is a cliche, but when these coaches come out, right, in the first drive, they're trying to figure out the other team's game plan. And for us, that first drive is going to be scripted. They're going to script the drive. And that's typically why you see that scripted drive go really well, because if the other team comes out and does what we saw on film, then we've got scripted plays that are absolutely going to work. Yeah. If the other team switches it up a little bit, that's where you might see drives stall. And I do think App State came out in some different looks that we had not seen on film. And that's why some of those early drives kind of stalled and why we were only up 7-0 in the first half, in the first quarter.
Yeah, during those early drives, there were a lot of RPOs. I mean, I think we threw like 3 RPOs back to back to back, which tells you those
Yes.
are actually run play calls. Like those are called run plays. We're expecting to hand it off unless the defense give us a certain type of look that forces us to pass the ball. And so I think like the first 2 drives were a lot of RPOs and a lot of tip balls. It was a few tip balls that really happened, which kind of tells me a little bit that anytime a quarterback has a lot of tip balls, maybe that means that the defensive line felt as though they couldn't get as much pressure with our big offensive line. So it could be a positive in there. You know what I mean? It's not all negative. It's just telling a story of a game. And there's a lot of details and a lot of little things in football, like you talked about playing a chess match that, is to the natural eye, you can't fully understand why you're doing something like this. But there's reasons behind the action of play.
Yeah, and man, speaking of telling the story, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. But just going back, I was there at the game, right? Which was awesome, man. I got to give props to the JMU in-game experience. I mean, honestly, dude, I don't think there's anything better especially at our level, right? But I would challenge anybody, man, go to a JMU game, and it is so hype. I also got to say, I sat this time. I bought a ticket in the premium seating section on the short side, the new premium seating.
Big money.
And then I ended up sitting with the students because it was so much more hype, right? So and I had some friends in that area, so I went and sat with them and just got hype. My vantage point from the short side of the stadium, looking at the big side, I actually think I like that a little better. I mean, it feels, the energy in the stadium feels so much better from that side, looking at the big side. I don't know if anybody else has that experience, but it just feels so much more hype.
That's great perspective, bro. And in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I have never sat in JMU stands.
Get out of here!
I've never sat, and that's like the fun.
So where do you sit?
Haven't came to.
Wait,
I haven't been to many games.
Wait. Are you saying you have never been to a JMU football game as a spectator?
No, I have. I went to one the year after I graduated, but I was in like the box with like the big dogs up there, right? So
excuse me.
So I was in the stands, right? But not really in the stands. I was in the little box. And then, the few games that I came back to, I did the commentary for the game, the ESPN Plus commentary. So I'm up there with Kirk Dudley. So now that I think about it, I never thought about this until this very moment. You saying that made me realize, because I'm over here trying to put myself in those seats, I don't have that vantage point. I've never experienced that.
Well, listen, man, if you can get to Charlotte Saturday morning early, I'm pulling out and heading to the Berg, man. You hop in the car, you go with me.
Man, you know what?
All right?
I thought I was going, with all the hype, man. I thought I was about to be there. I will say, I told a couple people, I shared it to a few people, hey, we got college game day coming in.
Man, no game day.
No game day. Man,
I honestly think ESPN was set to come, and then they just changed their mind.
You think so?
Because I think that Oregon USC game, I think it's probably more of a marquee matchup. If Washington State had a better record, I'm not saying Washington State's not a good team, but I think if they had a better record, I think they probably come to Harrisonburg. But man, thanks to that news story, man, I definitely overpaid for my ticket this
Did
week.
you?
Because I go in. What's that?
What was tickets going for? It changes that fast,
Dude,
huh?
It was insane. I went on because I wasn't even supposed to go this weekend or this coming weekend because my daughter is celebrating her birthday, and now she says she doesn't know what she's going to do, right? 17-year-old kids. So she's like, you can go to the game. So I go on. I'm like, all right, I got to buy a ticket and I got to hurry up because game day is coming. So I know. Wait
a minute. How did that conversation go? Because did you just say, oh, okay, all right, buy my ticket, let's go? Or did you say, you sure? You sure?
Yeah. Well, there's a thing called Inception. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but the idea is that you give someone an idea and they believe it was their idea. And so I may have performed Inception on my daughter
That's
and
hilarious.
convinced her that she doesn't want to celebrate her birthday.
Oh my
this
God.
weekend.
You went from being dad of the year to, oh man, you're going down the
Hey,
list.
We're still going to celebrate, bro,
That's
right?
hilarious.
But so anyway, I go on and bro, tickets were insane. And then like literally 2 hours later, the tickets were back down to normal. But either way, man, we got what we needed out of this App State game.
For sure.
And the other thing, shout out to Miss Patty because they recognized Miss Patty during the game for her 29 years of service to JMU football. So I want to say on the To the House podcast, shout out to Miss Patty, bro. Like that lady was such an amazing influence on me every time I walked into the coach's office when I was a player there. And so for her to do that for 29 years is such a big deal, man. What an amazing lady
she was a staple. I mean, she is a staple still in the JMU community, but just this for her face to be the first face that you saw when you walk into JMU football, no matter what coaching staff is there, she has seen many different coaching staffs and she has stuck around for the long haul. So shout out to her and shout out to JMU for allowing her to be able for her to be able to create her exit and not some coach coming in and saying, oh, we're changing everything. Everybody's gone. She was a staple.
Yeah. No, she's amazing. I'm so glad she got her flowers. But man, one of the things that I also loved that being at the game, and this is why you got to get in the car with me and go up there on Saturday because everybody's talking about you while I'm there. I had so many people come up to me and say, man, we love To the House. Like we love the show. I honestly feel like I'm more well known as the host of To the House podcast instead of a JMU football player.
Getting up there, bro.
Like it's amazing, man. So I shout out to all the people that came up and said they love the show. We love you back, man. So thank you for tuning in and listening each and every week. But that I used an analogy a few weeks back when Old Dominion lost to Marshall. Remember when Old Dominion got dragged by Marshall in that game? It was such a surprise. And I told you I watched every second of it because for me, in that rivalry we have with Old Dominion, it was kind of like watching Joffrey Baratheon. Shout out to all my Game of Thrones fans, but it was kind of like watching Joffrey Baratheon finally get his, right? When he dies in the show. And there's only one other character in Game of Thrones. Vad, did you watch Game of Thrones?
I do not.
By the way?
No.
All right, man. Go back to season 1 and give it a watch. Not that you have any time.
I feel like
for all my game,
I feel like people are gonna be like, man, Vad must live under a rock. I literally don't watch.
Yeah, bro hadn't been to any JMU games. He don't watch Game of Thrones. Like, what do you do, my guy?
Very simple, baby. Keep it very simple.
But for all my Game of Thrones fans, you will understand and hopefully agree with me that there was only one other character on the show that was maybe more hated than Joffrey Baratheon, and it was Ramsay Snow, who later became Ramsay Bolton. And man, I got to tell you, watching JMU put it on App State in this game, that was like watching Ramsay Bolton finally get his in the show Game of Thrones. It was so satisfying for me because the performance was so dominating. Yeah. And I think, given that we're in this CFP conversation, that is the type of dominating performance that we absolutely had to have against a team like App State. So, Vad, I know you're not surprised that we won the game. I think, Vegas picked us to win the game by 20 points, right? 3 scores. But were you surprised that we won the game the way we did?
Because it's such an emotional game, and we talked about it last week. I mean, your emotions was all out there on the podcast last week if you guys listened to it. And, I thought that they had your back. They according to Alonza, they watched the snowball fights last year, or no, not snowball fights, but them throwing snowballs at JMU and at the fans, and you were a part of that. Being at that stadium last year, and that was a part of their motivation. And also, you hear that the players, App State players, disrespected the logo at the 50-yard line before the game. And so
who does that?
Yeah.
Who does that anymore?
Yeah. It's just very interesting. It shows the hate. It shows the how much this game really means. You wouldn't want to be on that side of things and then get blown out this way. But man, 600 yards of offense, like 300 and 300 rushing and passing, 600 plus, I should say. And, to be able to dominate in that fashion where from start to finish, it wasn't even just, sometimes we like to come out in the second half and dominate that way. But it was one of those games where at one point we almost had over 600 more yards than them, right? It was just, I can't even describe that. It's almost like you look at the numbers and you're wondering, I think they had 1 yard rushing.
1 yard rushing. And by the way, they have the leading rusher in the conference in Rashad Dubinion. He leads the conference, or he led the conference in rushing.
Bro.
And they had 1 yard. Now, he had 29, but of course they had 28 sack yards, I guess. But that's dominating. And I just, for those players, I appreciate their fire, right? App State, if y'all want to come out and disrespect our logo because you really think you have a chance in this game, go off, right? But, you got to go on the field and back that up. And, I listened to, again, I think I said this last week, I listened to, some App State football podcasts. I especially tuned in this week. And of course, now they're having existential conversations about their football program.
Oh, yeah.
Like it is, what do we need to do? And even to the point that they say, man, look at JMU. They are the model. And for a program like App State with the history and the success that they've had, to call us the model, I think says a lot. I will say this. I don't know if you listened to their coach's pregame press conference, Dow Loggins.
He was very complimentary.
He's almost too complimentary. Like, bro, I don't need you to be that complimentary. And, I don't know that guy. I'm sure he's a great coach. I'm sure he's a fantastic human being. But if I'm a player and I listen to my coach in the press conference say, we're a 3-score underdog, why is a coach looking at Vegas betting odds? Like, I would never, as a coach, and maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Maybe I'm being too hard on this guy. But as a coach, I would never stand in front of a podium and say, this is going to be a tough one. We're 3-score underdogs. Who says that? And as soon as I watched this press conference before the game on my drive to JMU, I was like, we're about to boat race this team because this coach is looking at the freaking Vegas odds and he's equating that with his team's opportunity to win the game.
Yeah, it is. In a way, I look at it as kind of smart because one, what's coming, which, I don't think any of us would have said like, man, that performance was coming. But two, it's like if somehow you find a way to win or stay in the game, now you look like an all-world coach. You look like
but go into your locker room and say, guys, nobody gives us a chance to win this game. We're underdogs, sure. Right? Like I get that. Bro was like to the number. We are a 3-score underdog, and you got to watch the press conference because to me, it looked like a guy who had already conceded defeat. And I didn't love it. And if I'm a player in that locker room, I definitely don't love it. And if you listen to the chatter coming out of App State, they feel like this guy does not feel like he is, belongs there. Like he feels like he's kind of better than that, their NFL experience and all these years. And by the way, this is a fan's perspective, but hey, we're fans, so I'm going to talk about it. And so he even said, about one of the players on their team, like, oh, this guy could play in the SEC, but he's playing at App State and he should be proud of that. He said, and I think Brian Barlow and Kurt Dudley on our broadcast this week, Dow Loggins says about one of our players, Trent Hendrick, I can't believe he's still in a JMU uniform. Well, what the heck does that mean? Are you saying that you're now coaching in a second-rate league with second-rate players and the guy on our defense should be somewhere in the SEC because he's too good for the league that you're coaching in? Again, that does not sit right with me, and I'm just telling you, that speaks to why you went out and got boat raced by a JMU team 58-10. In my opinion, I don't know that he's inspiring these players to play well.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's one of those things at JMU. It was nothing that they did the whole game that made it worth. If you App State, I don't know how you go to the film room and look at this game and say, hey, if we would have did this, we would have turned it over. But one of the things that I've really appreciated about this game is the ability to kick the field goal.
Yeah.
Field goals are not always sexy. We want to score touchdowns, but to get live reps as a field goal kicker, to get live reps, because I don't feel like we've had a lot of opportunities to just kick like 47-yard field goals, things of that nature. And so I can't remember how many we had, like 3 or 4 field goals this game. But I thought that we're going to benefit from that later on down the road.
Yeah. I didn't love the one field goal that we kicked, and I think Chesney in the press conference after the game admitted that it was kind of a bad call to kick the field goal. We had like 4th and 1, and we're going into their end zone. There's no chance that App State's going to drive on us. And he said, that was a bad call up. We should have gone for that. But to your point, it was great to see Morgan Suarez get some reps, finally make one over 40 yards. And we still put up 58 points in this ball game. Yeah. And by the way, I know I was really, really hard on Dow Loggins. I know he's a great guy, man. I don't want to be hard on that guy. I'm just telling you from my perspective as a former player, it didn't get me fired. It wouldn't fire me up as a player to hear my coach talk.
Well, I will say to that point, like, I personally, I don't know how you was when you was a player, but I never really listened to the press conference that my coach did before the game, because I'm pretty sure he had a totally different tone in the locker room.
I don't know about that, bro. I don't know.
He was in the locker room like, "Hey guys,
I don't know, man." And with social media, in fairness, we didn't have social media like that. That's I know true. You played, you kind of did, but some of these things travel.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh yeah.
And you don't have to watch it to be exposed to it. But let's talk about the offense for a second. I mean, again, I was a little concerned about the slow start. Of course, Alonzo throws a pick. He's got to stop throwing across his body. I don't know if that's a thing for you. He got away with one, I think, at Louisiana. Like, he scrambles, gets out of the pocket, throws across his body, completes a big pass for a big play. And for the last 2 weeks now, we've seen him throw across his body and throw interceptions.
Yeah.
So were you concerned about the slow start for the
Absolutely.
offense?
I was concerned because, again, we're playing against an App State team who, they're the David, that they love to play the David role in the Goliath story. And so, talking about Alonzo throwing across his body, of course, nothing good happens I'm not going to say nothing, but a lot of times, it's not a good result when a quarterback is throwing across his body to the middle of the field. And I know he knows that. And, in some way, I'm all for, of course, the game was early on, the game 0-0. You don't know how the game is going to go. So you don't want to put your team in those positions. And we don't want to continue to rely on our dominant defense, although they are dominant. You don't want to use that as an excuse to make a bad play. And so,
right.
But I will say this. Hey, man, anytime as a quarterback I would make mistakes, it would stick with me, so that I wouldn't make those same decisions when it really counted or when it really mattered, right? And so I'm okay, like, and I have a different perspective. I know, people are watching like, no, that's stupid, you shouldn't do that, blah, blah. I'm totally fine with that, because I personally, from my experience, I kind of needed that to help me to realize, like, oh, shoot, the stove is hot. I should not touch it.
Yeah. And to his credit, man, he shook it off. And I thought he played a phenomenal game from then on out. It doesn't show up in the touchdown category because he had no touchdown passes. He had the one interception, but he had 303 yards passing. And I thought he made some really good passes and decisions throughout the game. And he was also effective around the goal line running the ball. But, this was a pretty dominating offensive performance, over 600 yards of total offense. I heard Dave Riggert say a couple of times that at one point we had 600 more total yards of offense than App State did, and that was late in the game, which is insane.
Yeah.
But we had 11 guys catch passes. Joby Mallory has a breakout game. How did you feel about watching the offense basically have their way and spread the ball around to, about 14 different people between run and pass?
A lot of fireworks, a lot of streamers. I can only imagine what the after game was like, in the locker room and also just in the community as players.
By the way, we ran out of streamers.
Yeah, I could tell on the watching on TV, it just looked kind of like bare. And I know people were kind of leaving because the game was like, way out of hand. But I'm like, yo, where's the? It was one point Kurt Dudley was like, yeah, look at the student section and I barely seen streamers go up. It was late in the game, and it was like, it wasn't many streamers. But man, you have to know that these guys played well and partied well, because the more guys that are involved in the game, the more you feel good about your team, you feel good about your performance, you feel good about being a part of a product that's well. And so I love the fact that 11 different receivers got to touch the ball, multiple runners got to run the ball. I mean, early on, one of the throws, I think it was Alonzo's first or second completion, he completed an RPO. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about arm slot. It was one of those slots where he had to almost look sidearm, but a quarterback has different arm slots based on what the situation needs, right? Of course, they had their hands up a lot, they were batting balls, but that was one particular throw. He threw a little hitch to the right side, and just the way that the ball came out was super fast and super efficient and super clean. It was just a beautiful arm motion. And I mean, this guy can really make all the throws that you're looking for. I thought the offensive line did an amazing job with the pocket. That was a true pocket back there. Of course, he got sacked a couple times, but some of them was, on him holding the ball and running out, and he got tripped up on the one. We don't want to live with those. We rather much, get the ball out. But I will say we are looking at a confident quarterback. We're looking at a confident offense. And I didn't realize, and maybe this was a mid-season change, maybe but I also didn't realize that Dean Kennedy was on the sideline calling plays. I thought he was in the box, but it seems as though he's been on the sideline.
Yeah, I think he's kind of gone back and forth, but I think the issue this week was that they had communications issues with their headset. The headsets didn't work, and so I think Dean Kennedy had to come on the sideline to call plays.
Well, stay on the sideline. I mean, hey, it just looked like natural. It looked like he was in the game, and I enjoyed seeing him in the action. And I'm not saying that's the way to go. However, I noticed that this game on watching it on TV, just seeing him in the huddle and calling plays and stuff. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, man. And what's cool about the offensive performance is we got to talk about names and hear names that we have not seen and heard from in a while.
Yeah.
Right. So Joby Mallory, of course, comes in, had some injuries, I think, early in the season, and finally makes a return. Has 8 carries for 105 yards and 3 touchdowns. His first touchdown for the season. A long of 59. And I got to tell you, man, every time that guy is running the ball, and I'm going to be completely honest right now, every time he's running the ball, I am honestly evaluating what is happening in practice that this guy doesn't get 5 to 10 touches a game in the backfield. Because every time he touches the ball, he's electric. I mean, and maybe some of his carries have come in garbage time. This game, it wasn't garbage time. No. He's still playing against their starters with our starting offensive line, and he's got really good balance. He's super powerful. He's got exceptional speed for a guy his size. And I'm like, why does he not play? Last year, I was like, maybe it's because he came in late after the spring. He doesn't know the plays, and so they don't trust him. This year, there's got to be something, because Joby Mallory should be getting 5 to 10 carries a game.
Yeah, and I love his mindset. I listened to an interview with him with Dave, and he was just talking about the mindset of being a college football player and just making sure that you stay focused and you keep the faith. And he's had to battle through some injuries and different things. But to have 8 carries for over 100 yards, that's 13 yards of average every time he touches the ball. I mean, you got to have a case for Joby Mallory to touch the ball even more, especially when we get in those short yardage situations. The guy had 3 touchdowns this game, and it just seemed like he was having fun. It seems like he was well overdue, and I love the fact that they kept, they let him rock. They let him make plays, and not even they let him. He took advantage because he only had 8 carries. You know what I mean? And so it's not like, oh, let's let him cook. No, he just took advantage of his 8.
And he always does. I'm telling you, every time he touches the ball, he's super productive. But man, I love watching that. I love watching that kid play. And you're right, man. He's got a great attitude because he understands his role on this team, and it's probably not the role he envisioned when he transferred from Portland State. But it's also a role that we're going to need because our running back room is kind of banged up right now. I think Jordan Fuller went out in this game, and that's why Joby got the carries that he did. Jordan never came back. Of course, now on the other people that are kind of unheralded that we never get to hear from, we had Zeron Smoke Collins had, some catches in this game. Finally, we had Isaiah Alston had another catch in this game. We also had Mikey Scott, just another day at the office for Michael Scott, to steal a pun. All 3 tight ends, I think, caught a pass. Josh Pfeiffer, Logan Cowell, and Lakota Dipree. Braden Wisloski, I don't know what you think about this guy, man, but I also think he needs probably 2 or 3 more touches a game because dude is shifty. He's got shimmy.
Yeah.
Like, he makes people miss, bro. I love watching him in the open field, and I feel like we got to get him on some of those crossing routes. And speaking of crossing routes, Jalen Sanchez just had he only had 2 catches, but I think the 2 catches that he had were like big explosive plays for us.
Yeah. 2 catches for 69 yards. He ran the crosser routes. I mean, it looked like the same exact play. Straight verticals, right? But as the third guy in the vertical progression on the trip side, you have a little bit of autonomy the way that you get open because you're basically going across the field, but you can kind of break it a little early with still keeping a high angle, or you can kind of give him some little sauce at the line and get over. But it just seems like he's a man-to-man beater, and obviously they were playing man-to-man, and he had inside leverage where the quarterback was able to put the ball on him both times. And so great reads by Alonzo, but great job, if you Jalen Sanchez by taking advantage of the one-on-one matchup.
And the other thing about this offense, of course, was Wayne Knight. I mean, Wayne Knight just balled again. I mean, the guy just shows up. I got one of my really good friends who actually works with me, texts me in the middle of the game, and he's like, Wayne Knight is just so good. Yeah. Right. He's an App State guy, but he's like, this Wayne Knight guy is so good.
Yeah. He reminds me of.
In fact,
go ahead.
Vad, you're going to love this. I had a fan who came up to me during the game and said, Delvin, Wayne told them night, and he used your joke. And I was like, I can't believe he's reciting this corny Vad joke. But anyway.
Hey, you know what? Kirk Dudley actually said it on accident on the broadcast. He said, Wayne Knight, he didn't mean to say it, but he said his last name twice. And I was like, night. But this guy, it almost reminds me of I'm blanking, but Heisman Trophy Travis Hunter. I know Travis Hunter played both sides last year at Colorado, and he was such a dynamic player. But you knew that when they got him the ball, they had a much higher chance of winning the game when he was involved, or if he made a play on defense. For us, Wayne Knight, we know that we have a high chance of having success on offense when he runs the ball well, but also he catches the ball well. In fact, it's crazy to say we don't need him to go over 100 yards rushing. That's a crazy thing to say, right? As your your starting running back, right? And we are a fairly decent run team. Like, we are a great run team. But yet we can say we don't need him to go over 100 yards rushing. Why? Because he's doing other things in the pass game, like he did this game with 6 receptions for 55 yards. He was our leading receiver again this game. And so it's just really cool to know that like he's going to get his 100 plus and all-purpose yards. Really, he's looking at it like 150 yards a game, maybe even more, with the kick returns and the receiving yards and the rushing. So it's crazy to say we don't need him to go over 100, but he goes over 100 in all of the ways.
Yeah, he's crazy, man. Speaking of crazy, this defense in this performance. I feel like the defense had a chip on their shoulder after the Marshall game because they gave up 400 and something yards in the Marshall game. They gave up, over, 200 yards, 300 yards on the ground in that Marshall game. And you could tell that they came out wanting to prove that they are the defense that everybody thought they were. And so, when you look at the final stat line, they held this team to under 100 yards until basically garbage time at the end of the game when, App State's backups in, our backups are in, and they just run down the field and score. But what did you think about overall just looking at this defensive performance?
Yeah, total domination again. It was literally like Call of Duty, and man, you just you just got that squad, you know what I mean? And you playing against like some high schoolers or something, man. It was one of those performances that will go down as one of the all-time greats. And these defenders and this, everybody on defense deserves just the praise, right? Because these guys had, I think, like 40 yards of offense in the first half. They did not cross the 50 in the first half. And so, when you look at that, I seen like Big Trent running down, covering guys one-on-one, and like he strapped him up. I think it was a tight end that he strapped up. It wasn't even a running back. It was a tight end that he strapped up. And, just seeing these guys just bounce around, have fun, and make plays. It was total domination.
It was total domination. I mean, so much so, like when you look at, breaking it down by quarter, how this App State team performed. They had 29 yards through 3 quarters of total offense. 29 yards of total offense. First quarter, they had 28 yards. Second quarter, they had 12 yards. Third quarter, they had negative 11 yards.
Wow.
And I just cannot praise them enough. The other person that I want to shout out, man, DJ Barksdale, comes up with a huge interception. And I think that was, for me, that was a huge momentum shifter in the stadium because Alonzo had just thrown that interception. DJ goes out and gets it right back, and you could feel the momentum shift right back to us.
Yeah, I mean that was just a heads up play, wise play. That was a formation play read. Like he read it based on formation. Okay, they got these 2 receivers right here. I've watched this on film. That must mean something. Something is up. And so not only you can know what's going on and still not make a play because they got dudes out there as well that's supposed to block you. But he knew what was going on. He recognized what was going on, and then he just went for it, and to make that play when the quarterback catches the ball and throws it right away means that he would 100% knew what was about to happen, right? And even if that didn't happen, he was just playing confident to the point where it's like, hey, like I study film, I know what's going to happen. And so I don't think people even fully recognize. I want people to fully understand, like for a quarterback to catch the ball and then just get it out of his hands right away, and you get an interception on that. That takes some savvy skill, but it also takes some savvy knowledge up here to know what's going on.
And it's the second time he's done that. I mean, he did that against Georgia Southern last year for a pick 6 right in their end zone. He had a play almost like that at Western Kentucky last year where same thing, hitch route, and he reads it. Instead, this time he just tackled the guy. But he's a savvy dude, man. We got a lot of savvy dudes on this defense, man.
Yeah. Zahir West came up big,
so glad.
Big as well.
Who was
Zahir
it?
West. He's
that dude is grown in a lab. I'm just telling you, if you said create me an NFL defensive end, it would be Zahir West.
Yeah, and he has the mentality Coach Chesney talked about it early on, like we plan like ahead, like we're planning in terms of like, hey, we're not just Sun Belt, we're planning like we are playing for a playoffs. And so for him, um he has had some incredible mentors ahead of him. He's had some incredible players at that position in JMU history. You know what I mean? And he is like he I think he even said it on one of um the deals I was listening to. He was saying they don't need me to make redshirt freshman mistakes. Like I have to play like I'm a senior. And for a young
Yeah.
guy to say that and a young guy to have that type of mindset just lets us know what type of level he's on. And young guys can elevate an entire team, especially if I'm a senior looking over at him, or if I'm a junior looking over at him. I'm like, man, I need to tighten up. If this kid can get it, so can I. And so he gets it.
Yeah. He punches well above his playing year, if you ask me. And I love listening to him in interviews because he's like, "You feel me? You feel me?" He's like,
It'll be funny because it's like, when he becomes older, he's gonna be giving all these political correct answers. But right now, he's just like himself. He's just like this young man that's figuring it out. I love it.
He's like, I love it, man. He's like, "You feel me?" And then, the other thing that I would say about, again, this defensive performance, I do wish that we had just kind of kept them out of the end zone. The pick six for Spinagati. I mean, I wish Aiden Gobira had held up on that one because I really wish that pick six had stayed. But I do think that was a good call by the officials. I also think that it was a good call that they did not throw Tyler Brown out of the game because, it was a hard hit. He probably should have let the guy go. But you know what? It's a rivalry game, man. You got to pay the price coming over the middle. But it was a legal hit. That should have been flagged, but not targeted.
Yeah, both penalties. I agree with you. They should have been called. Tyler Brown's hit will make a good highlight. It will make a good on the highlight clip on the highlight reel when they do the recap of the game. And going into next year, that should be one of the first couple clips. Hey, you make them pay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I was really hoping that interception stood because, man, I don't think that they score. I think they just flat out just like, hey, get us out of here. They scored in that.
Well, they should have been playing get us out of here football late in that game, but they were still, throwing the ball and almost got AJ Swan killed in the game. In a game that you're not going to come back, right? Just run the ball and run out this clock. Yeah. And like we'll probably, you'll probably punt it to us. And we'll probably also just run the ball and run out the clock. Yeah. That game was way too long. And again, hopefully AJ Swan is okay. Yeah. But they almost got that guy killed out there.
Yeah, he was fighting for his life. Football is a dangerous game, and you can't just play around.
Yeah. He's a tough kid though, man. I was appreciating the fact that he kept getting up and staying in there because they were, they didn't do him any favors. All right, let's transition to Wazoo, man. As much as I would love to take the entire hour and just talk about this butt kicking, I want to move on because you know what? We got bigger fish to fry. That big fish this week coming into Bridgeforth is Washington State. I love that we're playing this game because it's a game we've never played before, a team we've never played before. And I also am excited that they are coming to the Mullet and we don't have to travel across the country and put our, 9-1 season on the line in Washington State.
No doubt.
I'm also, and this might be a bad take for a lot of fans, I am also happy that we have no college game day in Harrisonburg this week. Like, we do not need that. We don't need college game day at JMU at this point. I mean, the game day atmosphere is amazing. People are going to be excited, whether ESPN is there or not. And it's one less distraction for the team because we already have the Marvel Superhero Day distraction, which hopefully is a very well-controlled distraction for the team. That should be a non-issue, but it's still something out of the ordinary that the team isn't necessarily used to, right? So I guess for you, how do you feel about this Washington State game? And the other question I have for you, Vad, is if you were going to put one of the superheroes on your helmet, who would that be?
Yeah, well, I'll start with that one. Spider-Man is like my favorite superhero.
Okay.
I wrote about him in my first published book, Purpose Over Position. And the reason why is because he's just an ordinary guy, right? He's an ordinary guy that
Spider-Man is an ordinary guy.
he's an ordinary guy.
He's got spider webs coming out of his
He's
hands.
an ordinary guy. He's
So it's the suit.
no, let me finish. He's an ordinary
Okay.
guy that just so happened to get bit by what is it? An unordinary or a super spider, right? That turned
Okay.
him into becoming who he is in Spider-Man. So that tells me
Got
that, like, hey, I'm an ordinary guy, but one day I can, maybe get bit by a spider, and next thing you know, I got webs coming out of my fingers and hands and flying and stuff. No, I really just enjoy that story of, he didn't ask for this. He didn't it just kind of, he was in the right place, or some people, maybe you could say the wrong place. He was in the right place to get his super hero. So I would have Spider-Man on my helmet. What about you?
Man, Spider-Man, that's interesting. I'm not a Spider-Man guy. I don't love heights. So I don't want to be flying around buildings and doing all that stuff. I'm probably more of a, I have to look at the list because I get DC Comics and Marvel. I get all that stuff.
Oh, me too.
Because
I might have.
I didn't grow up in that generation.
So my wife
Right.
gets on me all the time because, like, I didn't grow up watching like cartoons. Like, I was a football guy, like straight up Sports Center all day. Like, I didn't grow up watching Marvel and all that. Like, I really didn't.
Yeah.
I was literally had football on my, like, Michael Vick, and those guys were my superheroes.
Well, I mean, Fred Flintstone was my hero, bro. I grew up watching cartoons, but not those cartoons.
Fred Flintstone.
I'm a Flintstones, Jetsons kind of guy. Scooby Doo,
Okay.
but not
And
necessarily.
maybe I was a little bit
comics.
above my time or something, because I feel like what you just named is like my childhood. That's what I like. But I know there's a difference here. There's an age gap here, right? But
That's
bro,
it. No, I would, but on my helmet, I'd probably go Wolverine. But if you could hear some of my language while I'm at a JMU game, probably more Deadpool. Probably should be more Deadpool. I'm just kidding. I'm okay. I
but
keep it
shout out
PG,
to the
but-
creativity of JMU. Like this, I've never heard anything like this. In a football program, and they're setting a trend, because you better believe that other people are going to follow suit moving forward. But like you said earlier, this is somewhat of can be a this is a distraction. I'm not going to even say can be. It is a distraction that we have to. I'm sure Coach Chesney is taking the week to kind of, express his concerns and things with the team, and I'm sure they're going to be prepared, and they're not going to use it it's not going to be used as a distraction, because at the end of the day, we ain't looking at our helmet. You know what I mean? We got our helmet on as protection, but we got that man across from us that we got to beat. And so, with this Washington State football team, this is a team can't really figure out.
Right.
Can't really figure out. And mainly maybe it's because they have 75 new players. And maybe those 75 new players are starting to click at the right time and starting to gel, which I do think that this is a talented team. There's a lot of guys on this team that knows how to win. There's a new coach in town that's building his philosophy, and somebody that's a winner, and so for him, it takes time for a program to get moving. I know we live in this culture now where everybody wants results like day one. And I also know that we are going against, they're going against a JMU program that has been able to transition coaches and have results from day one, right? And so that's almost like unfair expectation. But at the same time, I do believe that this team is very talented. They're playing some good defense. I mean, they held Ole Miss to 24 points, which is the number 4 team in the nation. And not only that, but Ole Miss, if you look at the game, Ole Miss scored their first touchdown with 35 seconds left to go in the first half. And so you look at that, UVA is a ranked team that's playing for playoff. They lost to UVA by 2 points, 22-20.
And they gave up a safety at the end of the game to lose that game. Otherwise, it goes into overtime.
Wow, I didn't even see the game, so I didn't know that. Yeah.
It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. Like, they give up a safety. It's literally, there's no time on the clock late in the fourth quarter, and the game's going into overtime, and they give up a
Wow.
safety to lose the game.
Wow. So let's just build off of that. You look at little things like that. This team is one game away from having like a 7-4 record, right? They beaten a ranked team, two ranked teams, the number 4 team in the nation. You know, they lost to Ole Miss 24-21. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. Lost to Ole Miss by a field goal. And so when you look at this team is they have the makeup of the App State in the past where, you go into Michigan and beat a ranked team, even though their record didn't look like they were even supposed to be in the game. I think it's the same way going into this game, against Washington State. I mean, they've been able to hold their opponents to, Oregon State scored 7 points. Louisiana Tech, they're coming off a win 28-3 against Louisiana Tech. 28-3. Louisiana Tech didn't score until I think the end of the fourth quarter. And so
Yeah, they didn't have a drive over 38 yards in that game, Louisiana Tech.
So you're playing against a hot team is what I'm saying. You're playing against a team that and this is big. They're one game away from being in the bowl game, getting their 6 wins to be in the bowl game. And so you don't think that they want to come in there and get their bowl game victory and get this one game against a tough JMU team, a team that almost had College game day come. So in their locker room, they're saying like, oh, everybody's, talking about JMU. Nobody's talking about Washington State.
Yeah. And by the way, their fan base was also excited about game day. I mean, that report went all the way to Washington State because I listened to a podcast called Coug Talk, and they were on their podcast saying game day is going to be there. And I think their coach even said that game day is going to be there. So, man, the power of media is something else, bro.
No doubt.
But, I think there's a couple of things about this Washington State team. First off, big miss on Marvel Superhero Day. You got to get Washington State to put the villains on their helmet. Like, home team gets the heroes, the away team should have villains on their helmet. That would be such a cool, I think, overall experience.
Bro, that's too buddy. Like, I don't want to talk to y'all. Like, y'all do y'all thing, we do our thing. Like, I ain't buddy with you.
I agree. I agree. We don't want to be buddy. Here comes Vad now with the claws. I like it. Finally, I get you to pull out the claws because I feel like I'm always the angry guy on this pod. But this is a big game because now JMU has moved up to number 21 in the AP poll. They're number 22 in the coaches poll. I feel like they're going to slot us ahead of a North Texas team this Tuesday when the CFP poll comes out. So I think this game has huge playoff implications for a couple of reasons. And one of them is just perception. I think this Washington State game is going to be a linchpin for the committee when they look at the perception of this JMU team and how well we've performed in what I would admit has been a down year for the Sun Belt. And when you look at the opportunity to play against a team like Washington State that went head-to-head with University of North Texas, they got blown out by North Texas, right? So I think, again, if it comes down to JMU and North Texas, I think the committee looks at this game and how North Texas performed against Washington State and how JMU performed against Washington State, and that might be the deciding factor. They're also going to look at, again, the fact that this Washington State team took a UVA team who is contending for the CFP and the ACC, took them down the wire, and to your point, also took the number 4 team, down the wire and only won that. And that number 4 team only won the game by 3 points, Ole Miss. And if JMU can go out and make a statement against this team, then the perception for the committee is that, you know what? Ole Miss, who's going to be probably get a first-round bye in the college football playoff, only beat this team by 3 points, and James Madison beat them by 50, right? I don't think we beat this team by 50. This is not App State. This defense is absolutely elite. Like, they play really well, and what I love about this defense, they're a lot like our defense. They don't have the Jalen Green on their defense that's going to go in and get 6-7 sacks a game. Right? Did I say 6-7? Man, why do I always do that? but they don't have that star defender. They have a cohesive unit of players that play really well together. They tackle well, and they are solid and disciplined in their run fits. So are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? And are you as concerned about this Washington State defense as I am?
You know, I don't think the word concern is how I'm, describe how I feel. I can say, though, I feel exactly the way that you feel, but I think JMU has just been playing so well that I can't even use the word concern right now. Like I know, like, I'm not saying I'm not on the mountain, on the high horse either, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we have been able to do so many different creative things. Like, one of the conversations, I mean, even dating back to last year, it's just like, man, we are not creative. Like, we need to get creative on offense and do different things. Man, we're out in 12 personnel. We got 2 tight ends in the game. Like, for a lot of the game last week, we were in 12 personnel. But then we also have the wide receivers to go 10 personnel, 11 personnel, even though we don't see a lot of 5 wide. We can do that as well.
And by the way, Vad, can you explain, because we might have some listeners that don't know what I hear announcers say 12 personnel on the broadcast all the time, and my wife sitting next to me on the couch has no idea what that means. Tell our listeners what that means.
That's a great question. So when you hear people say 11 personnel, 12 personnel, they're explaining the running backs and the tight ends, right? They're explaining how many running backs and how many tight ends do you have in the game. So if 11 personnel, there's 1 running back and 1 tight end. If there's 12 personnel, there's 1 running back, 2 tight ends. And it's funny because even as an offensive guy, I used to like get tripped up on it sometimes. Like, I'm like, wait, is it 2? Does it mean 2 running backs and 1 tight end?
But the first number is running back, second number is the tight ends.
Running back, second number is the tight ends. And really, why is it important? It's important because it basically sets the tight ends, set the formation, set the strength of the formation. So what we mean by strength of the formation is we might have 4 guys on this side and only 3 guys on the other side. Or we could have 5 guys on this side, meaning that we have more blockers, we have more people that can run routes on this side versus the other side. And so it really just tells where the strength of the formation. And that's important for defenses to know how many tight ends are in the game. Because if there are 2 tight ends in the game, I might not need extra defensive back or a nickel back in the game. I can put a bigger linebacker in the game that could probably cover a tight end as well. So I hope that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense, man. And you, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, how we used to name our personnel when I was with the Giants. Because we used to have 2 running backs in the game, and it was all based on the size of each running back, right? So it was really cool if it was Tiki and Ron Dane in the game. So Tiki Barber, Ron Dane in the game at the same time. It was called Mustang personnel, right? So we got the big guy. We had another smaller running back. His name was Sean Bennett. He wasn't as small as me, but he wasn't as big as Ron Dane. And if it was Tiki and Sean Bennett in the game, it was Pony personnel. And if it was Tiki and me in the game at the same time, because, 2 small guys, it was Shetland personnel. And I didn't even know what Shetland, what that even meant.
Us over here.
I was enlightened back in 2002. Apparently it is like a miniature pony.
Okay.
It's like, it's like just a very small pony, a Shetland pony. It's like, so again, Mustang, Pony, and Shetland was our personnel grouping.
That's awesome.
Hilarious. Yeah, hilarious. But so one of the things that I'll say about Washington State is that the games, they gave up 59 points in back-to-back games this year. They gave up 59 points to North Texas. Again, big perception game for us. And they also gave up 59 points to Washington, University of Washington. Now, if you watch those games, it was 100% because they had turnovers. When this team takes care of the football, they don't score a lot of points, Vad, which is good for us. They don't score a lot of points, but when they turn it over and give the other opposing offense more chances, that's when their defense kind of lets down. So I need, we haven't been great at turning teams over this year. I need our defense when they can, because we had our hands on some balls this past week. right? But we didn't come down with them. I need our defense to turn them over whenever we get that opportunity to.
Yeah, I mean, and I love the fact that you brought up early on in the season. But I also know like our team is much better than we were early on in the season. Our offense is better. Our defense is still rolling, right? But I do believe that, while that stat, adds value to the season and who they are, I don't think it paints a picture of who they are today. Right? Them
Right.
giving up 59 points to a good North Texas and a good Washington team, right? Their last 3 losses is a combined of a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, 8 points, right? And that's against Ole Miss, UVA, 2 ranked teams, and then Oregon State. Now their offense couldn't score as many points as them, and you would like to think that they can score more than a touchdown. In one of those games, they only scored a touchdown. But those are their 3 losses, and they're 2-3 in their last 5 games. And so I think that more paints a picture of the team that we are getting ready to face. Like literally the message is we're playing against a team that almost beat Ole Miss and lost by a field goal. And that's kind of how
100%.
Yeah.
And by the way, they haven't played Oregon State yet. I think they closed with Oregon State. But you're right. They beat San Diego State. Yeah, I don't know. I have to listen back, but they did beat San Diego State, which San Diego State was considered in the playoff race in the Mountain West for the group of 5, right? And so their one loss this season was Washington State. Now they have 2 losses because they went down and lost to Hawaii. Yeah. But I'm telling you, bro, this is going to be a tough game for us. Their quarterback is mobile. He's not a dual threat quarterback per se, but he's also a kid, kind of like a lot of the kids on our team. FCS kid. He went to Bryant out in Rhode Island, FCS, and went in the transfer portal, and now he's got his opportunity to play for, a P4.5 school like Washington State. And he's effective. They also have a pretty good running game. They've been able to run the ball over the last several weeks. Vad, I think what it comes down to, again, I think we have to turn them over. But on paper, we should still be able to win this game handily. And I know the line came out. I think we're a 12.5 point favorite. I know Dow Loggins knows what our line is in this game. I should probably reach out to him. But yeah, 12.5 point favorite in this game. And if I look at it objectively, right, they are 34th in the country. They're only giving up 21 points a game. That is pretty good. They're 18th in the country in total defense, only giving up 304 yards per game. Now, our defense is better than that, but where we have the opportunity is on the offensive side of the ball. Again, our defense against their offense, because they don't rank in, I don't think, in the top 50 in anything offensively. So I think our defense just has to go out, control the line of scrimmage, keep them off the field, give our offense some opportunities, because I do believe that the Landon Ellis's and the Jalen Sanchez's and the Nick DeGennaro's and the Wayne Knights are going to wear this defense down eventually.
Yeah. I mean, it's just keep playing chess, right? We have so many weapons that we are able to isolate our weapons. Like, we have so many weapons that we're now starting to be able to isolate players. And what I mean by that is, like, put them on man-to-man, put them in man-to-man favorable situations where they're able to get the ball. And not only that, but our quarterback is a weapon as well with his feet and his arm. And so when you look at, you look at the combination of our offense, they're peaking at the right time, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, man. And by the way, our producer just let me know that they play Oregon State twice.
Yeah.
Is that
all the teams are leaving? I guess. I don't know.
Wow. So maybe I'm confused. I don't know that I have seen that first Oregon State result if they've already played them.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed that.
You got me having to look it up now.
Yeah, I got to look it up. But either way.
I think I was right. 10-7 Oregon State. They played them on November 1st. So, yeah.
Wow. November 1st? I totally
and
missed that.
They're playing them
they lost that
twice in November.
Oh, that's right. They lost that game to Oregon State. Yeah. And again,
welcome to the show, Delvin. Welcome.
No, but seriously, like you have to think about this right now for a second. Like this Oregon State team, had won one game, I think, going into that game against Washington State. You're exactly right. That Oregon State team had only won one game. That Oregon State team also just lost this season to the App State team that we just boat raced.
Rat poison. Don't want to hear it. Let's go move forward. I don't even want it. Hey, man.
It's rat poison. But again, the key in this game is, like I just said, Washington State turned the ball over twice.
No doubt.
Their quarterback threw 2 interceptions, and he has been prone to throwing interceptions this season, and that's one that we gotta make sure we take advantage of.
And at the same time, we can't give them more opportunities because they're struggling scoring points, so we can't turn over the ball and give them more opportunities to have offensive possessions to get it right.
Yeah, he's got 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he's been sacked 17 times this season.
Man.
So they are absolutely vulnerable on offense, and I think with our defense, their offense is objectively not great. They haven't scored any points. Our defense is great, and our offense is also really good. Going up against their really solid defense, I'm going to say advantage Dukes. If we go out, take care of business, no freaking letdowns, forget about the rat poison, right, Vad? We should roll in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and we want to be able to move on from this past weekend as well, and not allow that success and not get drunk off that success and carry it into this week, because this is not the game that you want to do that.
I think we're going to see a lot of RPO this game, though. I think it's going to be a lot of RPO, and I think it's going to be a lot of Alonzo Barnett keeping the ball and running with it. I think they had some troubles with Washington's quarterback, who, kind of ran a similar sort of system, and I think this will be an Alonzo Barnett 5 to 6 touchdown performance kind of game. I think it will need to be that. I will say I do like Washington State's coach. I know he came up from South Dakota State. The dude played at South Dakota State, so he's an FCS guy, scrappy guy, and then position coach at South Dakota State, and then became the head coach, and then of course got this job.
Yeah.
So he's a young guy, man. He's like 38 years old. He's like Chesney 10 years ago. And so I think he's a solid dude, man. I would go play for that guy. All right, Vad, you know what time it is, man. It is time for What You Talking About, Willis.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
All right, so, man, I have so many What You Talking About, Willis's this week. Because I heard so much wild stuff this week preparing for this show, and I just kept a running list. And so a couple from the Black and Gold podcast, right, the App State pod, I got to go back. I got to give these guys some crap, which, by the way, I think, I listen to a lot of fan podcasts. I think these guys do a really good job, man. I think they are the best of, like, the App State fans. I know I gave App State fans a hard time last week, but I think these are 2 solid dudes who do a really good job, who care about the program, who know the history of the program going back even before the Armani Edwards years. So I think objectively, I think they do a really good job with their pod. But I got to say, what you talking about, Willis, man, because they said, JMU fans are complaining about the snowballs. They said it wasn't even a real snow. They said it was just a wispy snow. They said you couldn't even make a snowball with it. I gotta be honest.
We got video to prove that, right?
We got video, bro. What are you talking about, Willis? That was a real snow. You guys are throwing snowballs at our players, and I know they have uniforms and helmets and pads on, but our trainers don't. The equipment staff that's standing there in the tunnel with our team, they're not wearing any helmets. So I just think it's a bad look. And anybody at App State that wants to defend that behavior, just say it was a bad look and move on. It was terrible. Anyway, what you talking about, Willis? It was a real snow. The other thing for the Black and Gold podcast, again, listening to their show, one of the things they said, and this is definitely a What You Talking About, Willis, they were talking about how JMU is the model right now. And they were paying us a compliment, but in paying that compliment, they kind of threw a little shade at our student fees because, JMU has the highest student fees in the Sun Belt. And they basically said you can build your NIL and build your roster by increasing your student fees. What are you talking about, Willis? That's illegal. You can't use student fees to pay NIL. So that is inaccurate. And then I I feel like I have one more, Vad, but you know what? I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
You just hate App State. I mean, this guy. If you listened last week, you know where this is coming from. It's deep within, but it's also they got him with a couple snowballs, and he took his boy to the game. So if you take your boy to the game and you get hit with snowballs, I mean that'll make any father upset. So come on, man. What you talking about, Will?
Listen, man, what are you talking about?
That's hilarious.
I mean, your team we had more penalty yards in the game than you guys had total yards at one point. I mean, we had 49 penalty yards. They had 47 total yards.
I thought we were on Washington State.
No, man, I had to go get one more. I had to go get one more in there, bro. Because you know what? Who knows, man? We might lose our coach and half our players. And go to Boone next year and get blown out. So we gotta dig that knife deep while we can. So let's go ahead and take it to the house, man. And JMU Nation, as we look around college football right now, it feels like every other headline is about coaching changes, buyouts, extensions, or some P4 program throwing around monopoly money like it grows on the trees behind their football facility. And with all that noise, it's real easy to forget a basic truth. Money isn't everything. And I'm saying that as a certified financial planner who spends about 50 hours a week talking about money. Okay, Vad, maybe 30 hours a week, but you get what I'm saying. And of course, once again, there are rumors swirling about our coach, Bob Chesney, that a couple of Power 4 programs have already reached out, that he's listening, that he has to consider the money. Everyone from UCLA to Virginia Tech, and I think I've even heard Penn State. And sure, we get it. There are some amazing opportunities out there right now. The bags being thrown around these days are wild. But just because someone waves dollar signs in front of you doesn't mean it's the right move. Because coaches, just like the rest of us, should be very, very careful in this moment. Jumping at the biggest check isn't strategy, it isn't leadership, and it's definitely not integrity. I know a lot of people love to say, you can't pass up the money. Oh my God, it's so much money. But think about that for a second. That's actually the opposite of integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing, not the most profitable thing. And in college football, the right thing should include honoring commitments, because coaches sign contracts and then sit down in living rooms, look 17-year-old kids in the eye, promise their parents stability, promise development, promise they'll build something together. Then 2 years later, they're gone. Not for family, not for fit, but oftentimes for a bigger check. That's not leadership, and it's certainly not integrity. Which brings us back to Chesney. Look, maybe JMU can't pay what a P4 program can. I know that. That's reality. But there is another reality. JMU might actually be the better long-term job for his career. Now, listen, I learned my rookie year in the NFL that you don't talk about another guy's money. And I hope this commentary doesn't come off that way. Chesney has to do what he believes is best for his family. But I believe this is a place where he can build a legacy, not just a resume line. A place where he can take a program that's already elite and put his name on an era. You don't get that everywhere. You don't get that just by chasing the bag, and you certainly don't get that by going to some P4 school that might fire you for winning only 7 games a season for a couple of years, only for your name to be forgotten, or worse, denigrated by the fan base. But here's the message to you, JMU Nation. Take a breath. Because even if Chesney does move on someday, and by the way, I hope he gets every opportunity he deserves, we're going to be all right. We always are. We've done this before. Withers came and went. Houston came and went. Signetti came and went. But what stayed? Our culture, our standard, our expectations, and our belief. JMU isn't a coaching staff. It's a program. It's a community. It's a way of doing things. Dukes hold doors, right? And no matter what happens, that doesn't leave. So whether Chesney decides to stay and build something legendary, or whether he moves on and the next great coach steps into Harrisonburg, one thing is certain. JMU football will be just fine. We've proven it. We've lived it. And we'll keep doing it. And that's it, JMU Nation. We have taken it to the house. Vad, are you fired up this week? Are you meeting me in Charlotte to get in my car?
This week, what am I doing? I think I'm going to speak to somebody this week. Can't remember. But I would love, man. I would love to. I got in your car and we went to Greensboro. I would absolutely love that. All right. To meet you. Let's do it. Let's do it one of these days.
I'm buying your ticket. Saturday morning. Meet me in Charlotte. We're going to take it to the house.
Let's take it to the house, bro. You did an amazing job. And I think that was an awesome take with the whole coaching carousel and just thinking of JMU and where we are and not allowing it to be a distraction going into this Washington State week. Let's go.
Let's go, man. Let's go, Dukes. Let's go win one.